Hello, dear students. This is the video session. And in this session, I'm going to speak on the Restoration Theatre and its historical background relating to the play The Way of the World. The play you are going to study is The Way of the World. It is a restoration comedy. And it is a comedy of manners written by William Congreve. The term restoration drama usually applied to the plays written during the period from 1660 to 1700. The plays which were written during this period, they usually belongs to restoration drama. Charles II restored the theatre when he was restored to the English throne in 1660. By 1700, Charles II had died. His brother James had reigned for 5 years and had been deposed in the Glorious Revolution or Bloodless Revolution of 1688, and William and Mary had reigned for 12 years. This is the history that I am telling you, who came after Charles II and what happened. Congreve was not born until 10 years after Restoration. He was born quite late to the Restoration. The Way of the World was first presented when he was at the age of 30 years of William Congreve. The play was presented, become popular. By that time, some of the most obvious and most notorious features of the period no longer existed or existed only in much weaker forms. Reaction against Puritanism of Cromwell regarding the beginning of the theatre. The easiest way to grasp the particular tone of the Restoration period is to think of it as a reaction against the Puritanism of Cromwell and the period of the Commonwealth. Before the Restoration, we could say in the history that it was dominated by the Puritan writers and Puritanism, the Cromwell, and there was a Commonwealth was practiced. And restoring the theatre in the Restoration period and restarting and rethinking of the play, and they started writing and presenting and dramatizing, and all the theatres was open, and it is a reaction against, literally a reaction against the Puritanism of Cromwell that we can see in the history. The desolate court of Charles II is well known in history and legend. One could never forget And one should certainly remember the contribution of Charles II to the literature of the Restoration period. He was what not to the literature. He did everything. He supported everything. And he was one with the literature and he was very much interested in the literature and supported a lot the people who were writing and people who are reading. Both were encouraged by him. It was a result of the blend of world weariness, cynicism, and debauchery, dominated by the group of exiles who returned to their country, determined to make up for the lean years history had imposed upon them. And many were they were exiled from England in the Restoration period, and they came back and they started writing the place. In general, the people of England welcomed the change. Actually, the people were waiting for the changes and a kind of revolution, both politically, socially, and literally. The literature was highly, that is, recommended and welcomed by the people. But such a reaction had only a limited time, time of the limited life. The court gradually shifted from undisguised dissipation to the pattern of convert individuals, political and democratic, domestic, and it is clandestine adulteries that always existed in these courts. These are the things that were happening in England of the 18th century. The casual relationship between the court and the theatre. The relationship between the court and theatre was casual. Later, among Charles II's first acts after he returned to the throne was a reopening of the playhouse that had been closed by the Puritans. It was done. No, he was a patron of the theatre, attended frequently, and was fond of very merry plays also. Was very much interested. He was an audience, true audience, a true lover of theatre and the plays. Since, in fact, in the early years of Restoration, the theatre depended very greatly on the support of the nobility, and its hangers on it reflected the taste of the court and activities. Whatever the changes that are taking place at any moment of time in the revolution, it should be supported by the politics of the state or the people in high power. They should support. It is quite common at any moment of time. For the courtiers, it is pleasant and well-bred, complacent, fine, frolic, good-natured, pretty age. And if you don't like it, leave it to us, the two, as one of the Wycherley's characters says. This is how we see that is the casual relationship between the court and theatre. Many characters in the comedies were based on well-known figures in the court, and many episodes echoed scandals that were known. And there were changes in the attitude of the courts that affected the theatre later. I told you the relationship between the court and the theatre was for a short period cordial, and slowly and gradually it is going to affect. Let us see that. By the 1690s, if not earlier, the change in the court's attitude occurred that inevitably affected the theatre. William and Mary did not follow in the footstep of the Queen's uncle and Charles II. The overreaction to the Puritanism had run its course, and respectability was reassessed, asserting its importance in the life of the upper and middle classes. Whatever changes has taken place, it should be taken place gradually. If it is so fast, it immediately stops as it started. It is quite natural. It is a natural phenomenon. The Society for Reformation of Manners was organized and laws were passed to suppress licentiousness. At the same time, the audience changed, and in the 1660 and 1670, and the solid and the wealthy middle class had ignored and deliberately avoided the theatre. Consciously, they avoided it. It was happened. They now became an important part of the audience. The audience, they started set back to the theater quite late. And this was due to their increased sophistication, but inevitably they imposed their values on the playwrights as well. And then later they started imposing some of the laws and limitations to the writers, how they could be in their writing and presenting the plays. In the beginning, they were at liberty during the Charles II, and later they were controlled, and they were imposed some limitations to write and present the plays. And the English merchant was not prepared to condone a cynical acceptance of those behavior. You see, during the reign of Charles and during the reign of Mary and William, there was a lot of difference in supporting the theatre. That is what we could read in history. Though it was there, still the Congreve, like an playwright, he could write well and he presented well. He could become so popular, the playwright could read. And we know that he was the forerunner of the that is comedy, the plays of comedy of manners. He was the founder, and he supported a lot, and he could write well, and he could be successful in presenting the plays of comedy of manners. It was inevitable during that period too also. Thank you for listening and getting some information about the historical background of the theatre during the Restoration period. And in the next class, we will see uh, the play, uh, The Way of the World. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much.